And what is up, everybody? I am Joe DeHoyos. I'm host of. Real quick before we get started, I like to talk about some of the things that I'm involved with. For those who don't know, I am part of the JRG, which is the Jevening Research Group, and we have teams in Minnesota, Florida, Ohio. Um, where else do we have? California, Michigan, South Carolina, Oklahoma, and of course here in Texas. And there's a few more that I forgot. I didn't bring my notebook like I usually do, but yeah, if you can helping out and joining the show or joining the team, um, just hit me up, man. I'd love to, we get you acclimated to a team, or we'll get you uh, uh, hooked up with some people in your area, and hopefully you guys can help out. And you guys don't have to get out into the field. You can always just do some research from behind your computer, we'd love to have you be able to find witnesses for us, find places for us to go and research, um, and be able to maybe give us suggestions on techniques and things like that. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you. And like I said, anyone can help out. It doesn't matter what your background is, what walk of life, what your uh, employment is. You know, you guys want to help out with this search for this elusive man, we love to have you. And, just hit me up at beyond.woodline@gmail.com and we'll get you guys started. And with that being said, man, I'm happy to introduce my guest tonight, Mr. Chris Patty. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, thanks, Joe. What's going
Good,
on
man.
down
Good. I'm
there in
glad.
Texas?
Shit, just being hot, man. It's crazy hot down here. It's just it's almost unbearable, dude. And I think that contributed to my damn migraine yesterday. Honestly, outside a little bit yesterday, and it was just beating me down. And when that migraine came on, I tried to hold on to it, and you know how they are, man. If anyone's ever had migraines, they can be debilitating sometimes. It wasn't that bad, but I couldn't focus, So yeah.
Mm,
So, but I'm glad we were able to get together tonight and do the show tonight.
no worries.
Yeah,
Glad to
man.
be here.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you. So yeah, you don't mind, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself and what got you started with this crazy little subject?
Well, how I got started was just basically probably seeing one, back when I was probably about 29 on I must have been on a 10-day camping trip um,
Oh yeah.
up around the Temagami area, which is up northeastern Ontario. And I was just paddling along in a canoe, had my kid brother up ahead of me in the bow. And I said to him, "Hey, look over on your left there. There's a bear right over there." And the thing was on all fours, um, drinking water out of the lake. And it just seemed rather strange to me because the thing just turned around and walked off on all fours. And next thing you know, he was up on two legs and walked off into the bush. And my brother said to me, that doesn't look like no bear. And I said, yeah, but why is this guy dressed all in black? And this is the Labor Day weekend, and it was still fairly warm. We were in t-shirts and shorts and everything. This guy was like decked out head to toe and looked like he had a black balaclava on. He had a black winter coat on, black ski pants, black boots, black gloves, which, by the way, were absolutely huge. He almost looked like he had much like goalie style, like soccer goalie style catcher's mitts. You know, those big mitts that these
Yeah.
guys wear. Just overly huge, and he had a bit of a funny hunch to him. He almost looked better. He was better off walking on all fours than standing up on two because it looked like he had a bad back and his knees were bent, and off you went into the woods. So that stuck out to me for many years, not realizing what I was seeing until, internet. You start checking things out, and then we're getting more reports from Ontario about Sasquatch sightings and what have you. And then did some more research and listened to other witness accounts, podcasts, and what have you. And I sort of put two and two together. And that's when I figured it out finally, many years later.
Yeah. Yes, I
And
mean,
then
so like, what went through your mind like when that happened?
initially, the Bigfoot wasn't even on my radar. I didn't even know the area that we were canoeing in was a high sighting area. Actually, that's one of the top areas of Sasquatch sightings in Ontario is up in Temagami. There's countless stories of people spotting these things or getting stones thrown at them, and cottagers seeing them. They were actually photographed by a couple of residents or seasonal residents that have a cottage up there many years ago.
Right.
And probably the clearest photograph of a Sasquatch to date.
Oh, nice, nice.
And then,
So like after that sighting, like you were saying, you started seeing these different, well, hearing different podcasts, I guess, and you started to put you kind of together. What about your
yep.
brother?
And again, he put that at the back of his mind because he didn't think he was seeing anything significant either. So he's been joining us on a few field investigations now too. So, and we talk about it quite a few times, and he seems to think, well, he's not 100% convinced. He says, "I'll believe it when I see one." I said, "You did see one, but you just don't remember." So
And how old were you guys when that happened?
I was like 29, and he was like 4 years younger than me.
Okay, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, things progressed further. I started working with with a company down in South Carolina. And in my area, I had to go and transfer for work to a new location up into Eastern Ontario to cover my I guess my sales area, my new range of Northern Ontario and South Eastern and Quebec. That was my new sales territory, and so I relocated up to a small little town called Bancroft, Ontario. And then from there, we do some hunting up and around the area. It's the favorite pastime. So out deer hunting and had a weird encounter too. Didn't see anything, but you got that feeling of being watched. And actually, I was turkey hunting at one time. That's another story altogether. Initially, I was on a turkey hunt, and basically what happened was I felt like I was being watched, and loaded up my shotgun, and I said, "Okay, let's go. Whatever it is, like whether it's a cougar or whether it was a bear or whatever it was looking at us or looking at me, I was ready to go." And so it was just a matter of not being able to move forward to my hunting spot, which was up on a bit of an oak ridge there, and I was sort of stuck there. I couldn't move. And then as that sort of dissipated, I was able to move forward, but nothing happened. There's nothing made a noise. There was no turkeys. I didn't even see a squirrel that day. It was pretty quiet. So, anyways, fast forward to a deer hunting. Check.
You're good, but you're getting like an echo. I don't know what you hit. Yeah.
Just give me 1 second here.
Yeah, you can.
How's that?
You still have that little reverb, that little echo thing going.
How's that? That's a little better now, I bet.
Oh, there
I
you
was
go.
getting
Yeah,
a
you're
reverb
good.
over here in my earpiece. Yeah, skip forward to deer hunting season. Called up a friend. We're going to go hunt this new spot. And sitting around the fire the one night, they were just, shooting the breeze and what have you, having a beer or something like that. And then we heard a scream off down the end of the lake. And I said, "Well, did you hear that?" And he said he barely heard it, but He said it sounded like a friggin' ape or a monkey or some sort, like make a weird scream of some sort. So, anyways, the next day we went out into the boat and we got to this spot where there's no roads, no road access, only boat access, and we were hunting this friend's property up there, right by his cottage, and I went up to up a high ridge, and it was a really it was a tough climb up that ridge. So I'm up on top of this ridge, and my buddy's about I don't know 300 yards. Away. We can't see each other. He's down right below a ridge, and I'm getting this weird clicking noise in my. I don't know if you guys are familiar with uh, headphones that are called Walker Game Mirrors, where it's basically a noise canceling, but it also has a microphone there that helps amplify the ambient sound around you.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, you can hear a deer walking by through dry leaves, no problem. So I was getting this weird sounding growl at first. I'm thinking, well, that must be my stomach or something making that funny noise. So I just shut them off and put them down. And then I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden a tree gets pushed down, probably about 100 yards in front of me. And I threw the headphones back on, turned them on, and I couldn't hear, what pushed down the tree. I was expecting to hear some sort of footprints or something. Didn't hear a thing, but now I was getting a weird clicking noise in my headphones there. Couldn't figure out. I figured these things were just broken and they were malfunctioning or something. So I ended up throwing them down. So it was a weird clicking sound of some sort. So I didn't know what to make of it. So, anyways, long story short, that's how I sort of really spiraled right into this. And then I just went online, started talking to a few people online, checked out another group called Hastings County Sasquatch, which was the county I was in. And I asked him if that page is still active, and he says, "Oh yeah, definitely active." So we eventually met up for a beverage, and just he gave me the lowdown on what's going on in his area, and from there we did a few investigations. After that, started buying equipment, and we really got into it fairly deep. And so, yeah, now we're right into the aspect of the investigations now.
Yeah. So, like, what's some of your favorite places to go investigate, or do you have like one place in particular that you go investigate right now?
Right at this moment, yeah, it's not in Hastings County, but we got a few spots here. Actually, we do have one in Hastings County that we're going to go back to visit probably in the next few weeks. But another spot that we're checking out, and we're doing a joint investigation with two other Sasquatch investigation groups. One is Ontario Sasquatch and Upper Canada Sasquatch. Now, these are, Ontario Sasquatch probably gets the bulk of the reports, and they don't necessarily put them out there. They just strictly share them with investigators. So that was a good team that we sort of hooked up with. Now we're not talking about that other group called Sasquatch Ontario. That's not the group. Not to confuse anybody. It's Ontario Sasquatch. So.
Okay.
And the other group is Upper Canada Sasquatch, and they got a little team of people, and we all sort of sometimes not everybody from Hastings County Sasquatch can make it, or from Ontario Sasquatch can make it, but we always have like a number of people available, teams to go up and investigate this one particular area, which is up north of the little town called Perry Sound in central Ontario.
Okay.
And it was that place seems to be producing quite a bit. Like we've like I said, I think I sent you a video of some FLIR footage of one sort of crossing in front of the camera and it through our line of sight. I wasn't even concentrated. I wasn't trying to capture that one on the FLIR. I was concentrating on another one that was sort of popping in behind a tree because we were catching his eyes shine with night vision, and we switched over to the thermal FLIR, and
Right.
that's when we had the secondary one come walking out in front of us. So, and then since then we've did some more follow-up investigations trying to establish, like from our line of sight, exactly how tall that where this eyeball was as far as our line of sight goes. And we came up, we brought surveying equipment and everything up there, and we established it was about 9.5, probably about 9.5 feet tall. That's where the eyeball was, in and around there. So if you have to add another, another 6 inches on top of that, above the eyes, you'll probably get a rough idea, but what the height of it. But the reason why we're going back there, because we have another investigator that actually owns the property. He sort of is the landowner, but he joined in on the investigation now. He's now part of the team, and he did a lot of the hiking in the area, and he came across a 22-inch print in the snow, or like a trackway with I believe it was like a 4.5, maybe a 5 foot stride at a time. So he couldn't really put one foot in front of the other to match those that trackway with his own stride. So there's more to that too, but yeah, we figure we got a small little family living in that area.
Yeah, yeah. Canada's really got a lot of land that's untouched. You know, there's no telling. I hate to sound like I'm exaggerating, but really, there's no telling what is out there. You know,
Yeah,
uh, yeah,
compared
and, you
to Texas, for instance, like the province of Ontario is 1.5 times the size of Texas.
know, right? Yeah, and
Yeah,
like I said, a lot of that stuff is is untouched. You know, um,
yeah,
not many people go there.
most of the cities are located close to the U.S. border, actually. So
Right? Yeah, yeah. I was reading something about that. Like almost all the population is by the border, and there's even some parts over like where the border's at that comes down below the United States, that there's more population of the United States than there is in Canada. Yeah,
yeah,
that's pretty.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
there's tons of place for them to hide up there.
yeah, and well, really, they don't even have to hide. There's nobody to hide from. There's nobody. There's nothing up there, and I think that's a lot of people really don't think about that, and uh, it's definitely one place that I'd love to go visit. I got a friend of mine that lives in I believe she lives in Ontario, man, and I want to go up there because she's in the paranormal field, and they do paranormal investigations up there, and she's invited me. And I told her, yeah, as soon as I get my passport, I'd love to get up there and um, uh, go up there for a visit and shit. While I'm up there, go look for Squatch.
Yeah, you might be disappointed compared to your Texas Sasquatch, I guess. They're more aggressive down there, from what I understand.
Yeah, they definitely they're not friendly. I guess you could say that. They have a lot of I guess like encroachment, like on their land and on their territory. Really, there's a place that a friend of mine had his encounter at, and the one he saw was actually like 9.5 feet tall, also. And we've been going out there for quite a while, for about 3 years, and we just found out that um, right after his uh, encounter, maybe within the year, we found out that they're going to start building homes out there now. You know, and to us, that was just a little bit of a coincidence. What's up, Shannon? Yeah, that was. I think that's because he ran into some issues after he came out and told us his encounter. He got a couple of phone calls, so we figured that's part of it, kind of encroach on their territory and move them out.
Hmm.
And I think they do that down here at least. The powers that be. Um,
Well, and also we also get some reports, and we haven't really released a whole lot on that as on our website and whatnot. Was we're getting some reports of people spotting him right within the city limits. Like we just did one podcast, I don't know, last month regarding one fisherman along the Grand River of Brantford, Ontario, and he had two of them out in front of him drinking water right out of the Grand River in front of him while he was out fly fishing,
Yeah.
and he's right within the city limits there.
Hmm.
And then we have another one right by a major city, and it's like a little green space, I guess, like in a little gully or a little gully or a parkette of some sort, that has connections to the green belt area, and he's spotting them right within the city limits of a fairly big city on on the outskirts.
Um, do you guys get any reports of Dogman up there?
Yeah, that same investigator that's also the landowner where he has a Squatch family up on his property. Um, he'd tear us all over Ontario during the wintertime on a snowmobile, like a little mini vacation. I guess he has winters off pretty much, and lo and behold, he had a great eye because he's on the trails and he's looking at canine tracks. But the thing is, these canine tracks had a stride to them, and
Oh,
there's no overlapping like forward front paws or anything like that. It's
hmm.
just strictly almost like it was a bipedal, you know, canine, and a very big size track too. By the way, I don't know if he didn't have a measuring tape with him. He's out booting around on his snowmobile, but they were fairly large, and offhand I don't remember exactly what the strides were. I'd have to get back to you on it,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was significant.
Yeah. I was looking for her message. She said, we did an investigation at Buck Hill Road near Ottawa, and the activity was crazy. We accompanied a team that was very knowledgeable about the site. They told us that it was one of the most active Bigfoot areas in Ontario. We even played a couple of Bigfoot calls to see what would happen. It was amazing. Yes, I don't know where that's at. Buck Hill Road near Ottawa. I don't know. She said it was a pretty active area for Bigfoot, but yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah,
apparently.
they seem to be everywhere.
Right, yeah. But when you talked about, I guess coming in near like subdivisions, my sister actually contacted me about 3 years ago and was like, "Hey," because she used to work for HOA, the homeowner association, and there was a new subdivision. It went up right outside of Houston, and uh, it was once. Well, it's still heavily wooded, but that whole subdivision was once a bunch of wooded area, and the new homes went up. She got a call from the homeowner, and he told her, he goes, "Hey, who do I need to talk about? Who do I need to talk to about seeing a big wolf?" And she's like, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "I saw the biggest wolf I've ever seen." And she says, "I guess I'll call animal control for you guys." And he's like, "No." He goes, "This was huge." He says, "I've hunted all over the country." He goes, "I've hunted elk and bear." He says, "I don't have anything big enough to take this wolf down." That's what he said,
Mm.
which is crazy. And so there are a few sightings of dogmen around Houston, not a lot, but enough to keep it interesting, enough to keep your head on a swivel when you go out there. And but I'm not sure how familiar you are with Texas, but you have Houston, and north of us is Dallas, kind of northeast of us is Austin, and more easterly is San Antonio. So between San Antonio and Austin, it's called the Hill Country. It's a very hilly, rocky area.
Right.
Um, and it's that's what Dogman Country is. For here in Texas, that's where Dogman is mainly reported and seen. And there's not a lot of brush, there's not a lot of cover, but it's so hilly and rocky, and there's a lot of ravines, a lot of gullies. Uh, quite a few rivers and big creeks there. Even when these creeks are dry, they're still like 8, 9, 10 feet deep. So anything wanted to move around out there, you'd never see it. And then again, like I said, it's so hilly and rocky. It's beautiful country, man. Beautiful country out there. And when you're driving down there, you're driving. You got hills on both sides, and uh, you just never know what's out there. And at night, it can get pretty creepy, man.
I'd imagine, yeah. I always
Yeah.
wanted to go and check out one of your national parks. Is it Big Bend down there?
Big Bend is more towards El Paso. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
always wanted to go and check out that area.
yeah. Yeah, Big Bend is it's pretty cool. I've been out there. They actually have like the fossilized dinosaur tracks out there too, and bones and stuff. Uh, the San Houston Forest is where I go, which is north of Houston, about an hour north of me. And that's like a heavy area. And then East Texas, which is an hour east of me. So yeah, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Uh, a lot of activity there, a lot of activity, and I've been lucky enough to talk to a lot of witnesses out there. Up around Dallas area, not necessarily in the metropolitan area, but like either east or west. And earlier I said east for Austin and San Antonio. It's actually west, but
Right.
east and west of Dallas and Fort Worth area. It's a lot of open country out there too. A lot of wooded area. Texas isn't as flat as people think. It's very hilly. Um, most of our uh, mountains are West Texas, but it's very hilly in Central Texas, a little bit in the East Texas. Very, very heavily wooded in East Texas. I mean, almost from the Gulf all the way up to Arkansas. And so we get a lot of reports out of those areas, and it's some pretty scary, pretty aggressive encounters. And Sandra has a question. Do you think Sasquatch and Dogmen share the same areas? What do you think about that?
I have yet to see a dog man,
Right.
but they could. It sounds like they pretty much are, judging from
Yeah.
the tracks that one of our investigators found. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if they necessarily share the same area, like, because I don't think squatches in particularly share the same area with other groups of clan. That's, just my opinion. Just because people have heard, these things fighting. I don't know if you've had any reports of that, but I've heard a couple of reports here in Texas where people were saying it sounded like they were fighting. It didn't sound like they were just, chatting and calling each other back and forth. It sounded like they were getting it on, screaming and hollering and
right,
so,
right.
I don't know. Have you guys had do you have any reports of that?
Not really so much fighting in between the twos. Never got any reports on that end of things, but yeah, we do get vocals or vocalizations. In fact,
Yeah.
probably about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Oh, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, we were heading into one investigation area, and as we're crossing over a railway track bed, we got something very similar to the Ohio Howl.
Oh, nice.
I don't know if you heard them before, but yeah, we got a back to back. There was two of us
Mm.
crossing the track, and as soon as we got dead center in the track, it went off, and we got a nice long drawn out Ohio howl,
Right. That's
and
fun.
then probably about 3 to 4 seconds later, it repeated itself. It's the exact same howl.
Hmm.
So, other than that,
Yeah.
we've got a lot of tree knocks. Obviously, you guys got the knocking sounds they make.
Right.
I've like I said, I've heard the clicking sounds. Um, the only other thing that I've heard, which was kind of weird, and I still can't put my finger on it, but I suspect that's what it was when I was up in the Temagami area when I had my first sighting. We were heading up to a ridge line, what we call a mountain up there. It's a bit of a hike, but we camped out on top of this mountain, and we were hearing some sort of crazy ass uh, screams that were heading off the west, and we couldn't figure out what the hell it was. We were sleeping with our axes and our knives in the tent that night, so we had no idea what that was. So,
Yeah.
and then checking things out, it was I found the closest thing to that was the Shawnee National Forest vocalizations. You can find that on YouTube, and that's exactly what I heard that night. But yeah, that's about it as far as vocalizations go.
Thanks for hey guys. I just want to tell you guys I appreciate you guys joining in and watching and giving comments and questions. I really do appreciate it. I'm sure Chris appreciates that too.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah, you talked about sleeping with your axe and knives. The very first investigation that I went with my good friend Shane. Uh, we met up at the same. The first time me and him had met together, we had known each other on Facebook maybe 6, 7, 8 months. We had planned this trip, and it's the first time I met him, and we're out there, and I went out there and I had two pistols with me. I had a 40 and a 45. And, we're sitting out there, and the first night we're out there, man, we're here. When I get there, it's maybe 11 o'clock in the afternoon or in the morning, whatever. And I get off my truck, and I haven't even taken anything off of my truck. I haven't even put my tailgate down. I just get off. I'm walking to the tailgate, and I hear a tree knock, and it sounded like batting practice, right? Just this solid knock. And I was like, holy shit, And I put my tailgate down. I'm throwing everything out of my truck, and I hear like two or three more. So, and I knew he was on his way, so I called him up. I said, hey man, where you at? He's like, yeah, I'm not too far. I'm about 20 minutes away. I said, okay, you gotta get down here, man. We're here. I'm hearing tree knocks already in the middle of the afternoon. He gets there. We hear a couple more. Night falls, and it's just me and him out there. And like we don't go to the campground. We go, we do our primitive stuff, and um, we're out there, man. We're hearing knocks. We're hearing tree breaks. We're hearing these weird ass howls we had never heard before. Neither one of us. Um, and not to talk bad about Shane, but he's not really like an outdoorsy guy,
Yeah.
or like a hunter or anything. Where I've had a lot of experience, with that. Man, I used to have a freezer full of like hog, deer, duck, rabbit, squirrel. I think I've shot just about everything at one time or another. And so I was like, dude, I've never heard these screams, whatever's going on. And some of them sounded straight up like a chimpanzee. And so we're standing there. We're standing back to back. Well, we're standing shoulder to shoulder. I'm facing one direction. He's facing the other. And we just keep on saying to each other, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" Because he's hearing shit and I'm hearing shit. He's hearing like these. He heard like these two big thuds. He said it's like boom, boom, because it sounded like two big ass footsteps. I'm like, yeah, I heard it over here. And he said, "Did you hear the steps?" I said, "No, I heard the tree break. It was a clean break, just snap."
Mm-hmm.
So everything finally dies down. It's maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and he's like, "Hey man, give me one of them guns." So he went to his tent. I went to my tent, and he slept with that pistol. And it was funny. He said, "Man, I had that pistol with me all night long." And uh, he said maybe about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. He said, "Man, I started hearing them wood knocks again." And I said, "Dude, you should have got your recorder out and recorded them." At that time, everything he had when he turned on it would like, all the music would come on or whatever, the little chimes. So he's like, I didn't want to turn it on because I didn't want to scare anything away. But I was like, dude, you should have. I was knocked out. So I wasn't
Well,
hearing nothing.
if I come down to Texas to visit you, you got a pistol you can lend me.
Yeah, heck yeah, man, for sure.
All right. Good. We're not allowed to use our pistols up here. We can just take them to the range and that's it.
Oh, yeah, that's
I'm pretty proficient with one. So,
dude. I'm better with a pistol than I am with a rifle. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
well,
Anything I've ever shot with a rifle has been really damn close to me. Shit. So I'm not shooting. If it's 100 yards away, I'll let it go. I'm not gonna hit it.
yeah, you got rattlesnakes you guys take out with those things, right?
Well, you've got shotguns for them things, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't miss those.
Yeah. You don't have to point. You get so accurate. But the main reason why we carry pistols with us is just because the hogs and the bobcats and
Oh,
every
yeah.
now and then
Sure.
coyotes. But um, everything down here is trying to kill us. But and really for the most part, like I hate snakes. I'll tell you that right now. I hate snakes, so I don't like fooling with them. But for the most part, they'll leave you alone. They'll actually squirm away from you. If they can, they get a chance. If to mess with you. You'd probably have to step on one for them to bite you.
Yeah. The only time we don't even take shotguns out on our investigations at all. We did it at the very beginning, but we never had to go and point it or fire a warning shot off at all. They had never really showed much violence to us. What we established is that they seem to be a little more curious of us, you know, bald people with no hair. They
Yeah, I
always
think
seem
so.
they seem to come in and watch us around the campfire, watching us roast, hot dogs and what have you,
Right? Yeah. Hmm.
and that tends to be where we get most of the action is sitting around camp.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
And
have to agree with you.
we found our little secret weapon here is Snickers bars.
Oh, really?
We'll set these up, and we set this up by an old barn and everything, and we'll go and check it the next day, and all the Snickers bars are gone.
Hmm.
And I think they like them better than peanut butter, believe it or not.
Yeah. I
So
had a friend of mine in South Carolina actually. He went out and he left a jar of peanut butter out by this bridge where they had been sighted a few times. So he went out there. He left the peanut butter jar out there, and he came back like a couple of days later, and he saw the jar was still sitting there. He goes, "Dude, it looked like it was full. You know, it looked like anybody touched it." He goes, "So I picked it up." He said, "I unscrewed the lid." He goes, "When I looked," he goes, "inside, it looked like somebody with a giant finger took out one scoop." You know, he
yeah,
goes, "Why did it didn't take all of it?" He goes, "I don't know." He says, "But it only took out that one little scoop."
and they put the lid back on.
Put the lid back on. Yeah, something took it off and put it back on. Right.
Yeah, it's just
So yeah, I don't think that was a raccoon. You know,
don't think
that
it
did
was a
that.
bear. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah. So yeah,
wasn't a squirrel.
wasn't a squirrel. Yeah. Yeah, and we saw out in East Texas. We went to this location where a friend of mine had an encounter, and uh, we saw this tree. It was snapped off maybe a foot and a half off the ground, and it was just like, I mean, just like completely tore up, completely splintered. I'm like, what else is gonna do that? We don't have any bear down here,
Mhm.
unless a hundred squirrels decided to tear down that little tree,
Right.
you
Yeah,
know, and,
exactly.
and yeah, and I mean, even me and a few guys couldn't do that to that tree. That tree is maybe, I don't know, 5 inches round, 6 inches round. You're just not gonna do that. It takes a lot of power.
Yeah, we haven't even posted some of our findings from our last investigation, where
Mhm.
we had again, we're sitting around the fire, same deal, and just shooting the breeze again, and then all of a sudden, crack, 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 and then a tree gets pulled down,
Right,
and it was a dead tree, but at the same time, it was still very solid. It wasn't
right.
rotted; it was just dried and dead, and that was it. But something
Mhm.
took it, grabbed it about 9 feet up, and well, I believe it was 9 feet up. Snapped it, brought it down. It was the loudest thing when it's like 3 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
Right.
And we found the tree the next day, and yeah, it wasn't.
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't a bear. That's for sure, because all the little dead branches around were still attached to it, not broken off or anything. It was just grabbed and pulled down,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
that's like the third time that's happened to me now. So
yeah. I went out with my friend Brandon, and he was taking me to an area where it was very active, where him and his family do their research. And we're going out there, and man, dude, it's a long drive. It's like 12 miles out in the middle of nowhere. And we're probably halfway out there, and I have a fucking flat in my truck. I'm following him, and I feel my left tire just poof, just go flat. I'm like, shit. So I pulled over. He keeps on going. Then he finally realizes I'm not behind him. He turns around, and I had one of those stupid. Uh, it's a Ford. It had those stupid little, like a special key to take off the spare tire, right?
yeah, all right.
And I didn't have that key with me. I had just bought that truck. It was a used truck, and I guess whoever was the previous owner didn't lost it or whatever, because I sure as hell didn't have it at that time. So we had to come all the way back into town, which is about a 30-minute drive, get a new tire, and come all the way back out. By the time we got out there, it was dark. It was really dark. It was really late in the evening when we're going out there, and we're trying to put this tire on, and also we heard pop, 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 and it was a tree getting pushed over. And he looks at me, and I said, "Hey man, did you bring your your gun with you? He goes, no. I said, I didn't bring my gun either because I wasn't planning on staying out there that late at night. He was going to come show me the area so that I could go out there and camp. He was going to let me camp his area. And it was just going to be a real quick trip, show me where it's at, and come back home. So we're out there at night, unarmed, and we hear that tree get pushed over, and it was definitely a live tree. Just it
Yeah.
sounded like someone was shooting a gun. How it was pop, 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 when it was just bending over,
Hmm.
snapping. Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
then we,
definitely got that.
yeah. Then we
Heard
come
that
back.
before.
We come back to this other area in the Sam Houston, and we're sitting over there. He's showing me around, and he's like, "This is another good area that that we come to. We're just parked on the side of the road. It's a dirt road, and we hear these three screams, and he holds his finger up like that, like for me not to say anything, and he's kind of holding his hand up like to listen. After those three screams, there were three whoops, and those screams were the females, and those whoops were the males. I was like, really? And he said, yeah. He goes, they're going to move towards the males now. And then we started hearing knocks, wood knocks, and uh, we're sitting out there, and I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of freaking out a little bit. And then we hear something hit his truck, and it actually hit his headlight, and you can hear it because you know how the headlight's kind of plastic. Well, it's made out of plastic now instead of glass. You can hear
Hmm.
it bounce right off the headlight. Yeah. Like, okay, so we just kind of stayed up there a little bit longer than I. He goes, it's probably time for us to go. They probably don't want us out here. So yeah, just get out of here. So yeah, that was pretty. That was actually one of the most intense nights I've ever had. Yeah.
Oh, there's every time I've been out, there's always more. You end up with more questions than answers. That's for sure.
Always, always, yeah.
So I'm going to throw this question out to you, and I can get into more details. But I'm sure, have you guys used remote viewers for your Sasquatch investigations?
I have. I've used remote viewers for certain areas, um, and it's been inconsistent. I'll say that much, right? But the ones that hit seem to hit pretty good. And well, I don't want to say we as much as I have personally,
Hmm.
uh, just because it's kind of like one of those subjects. You don't want to, you know, cross pollinate. I guess you want to say, and I'm not really against that because,
Hmm.
like I said, I will use it, and or I have used it, but I just don't like use it exclusively. But I have used it, like you were like, just to get to your question, answer your question. Yeah, I have used it, and the ones that have hit pretty accurate, and they were pretty dead on, especially in that one particular area where, like I said, my friend had that sighting of the 9.5 foot tall one. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And he actually, well, she actually told me that there was several out there because usually you hear there's like 6 to 9 in the clan, and well, at least that's what we hear down here, right? And he was like, dude, we were surrounded by a lot. There was a lot of them out there, and she told me, she goes, no, there's more than 9. There's like probably 15 or 20 of them out there. I was like, oh wow, okay. And that actually made a lot of sense because it kind of confirmed what he was saying.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I believe it.
yeah. And like I said, the ones that have hit have really really confirmed it. The areas. So like I said, some have hit, some haven't. Some like I don't. It's like they've either gotten something or they've not gotten anything. So with that, I'm kind of like I'm on the fence because even the ones that haven't gotten anything, I believe that they're really good at what they do for sure. So
Yeah, we've. I think we've used remote viewers, and it's good that some of them are investigators right here
right.
with our groups that we network together with, and at least three of them on 3 remote views, they pretty much hit almost dead on.
Right.
This one fellow by the name of Dan, he told us where they're located. You can probably find them. He showed us on a map generally where you're going to find them. And sure enough, um, we had some of the crew show up for the investigation, and they no sooner dropped their trailer off, and I'm sort of sitting on the front bumper of their pickup truck, and I heard exactly what Ron Moore um, recorded, like the samurai chatter.
Right.
We got that right off the bat, and then so I just knocked on the trailer today. I just heard the samurai chatter just up to the north side of the vehicle, and about a half an hour later, another investigator took a little walk down that little dirt road, and she came back, same thing. She heard them too, coming from that same general area. So um, definitely samurai chatter.
Right.
Just like Ron Moorhead's recording, which I was just unbelievably blown away by it.
Right. Yeah,
And
I've
then,
heard. No,
yeah,
no,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. No, no, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Oh, and then most of our investigation, the second and third investigation area, that's where they're able to establish that, well, there's at least a family of three of them. There's a big one with a 22 foot or 22-inch foot track with an injury to the foot.
Okay.
And sure enough, and our other investigator basically backs that up because you'd find the snow print, a snow trackway this past winter. So that checks out.
Right.
Um, and then there was the third remote viewer, and this is a new location in central Ontario. Again, this one's on public land. And sure enough, we found the bent tree that she sort of drew the picture of and everything. We found the location, so we tried camping out fairly close to that area. And because it was public land, we had other people showing up on the weekend
Right.
to do some camping. And she was there too. And she she said she sent a telepathic message to him that we're just here to observe you and what have you.
Right.
But the other loud partiers from across the lake over here, it's okay
Right.
if you scare them away.
Right. Yeah.
And well, the next morning, yeah, they were all gone. The tent was there, and then somebody rolls up later on in the morning and tears down camp and cleans up after everybody. They all took off that night,
Hmm.
sometime during the night. So
Okay.
unfortunately,
So,
we didn't get a chance to interview them. Say, hey, what happened to you guys last night? What did you guys take off?
so are you in the field that they do have telepathic communication abilities?
Well, I think since the U.S. government has been doing remote viewing,
Hmm.
obviously there's got to be some validity to it. I think some
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
some people can read your mind and almost second guess what you're going to do next. Almost,
Right.
almost like they have ESP, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, there's got to be something to it. And
Right. Yeah.
I don't know about the Sasquatch here, but it's
I
it's,
think
it's
they're.
certainly it's leaning that way.
You know, I don't think that. Okay, so I'm not like totally against it. I'm not totally for it either. I'm probably more like along the line of thinking that just like us people, or just like, and I think any creature for that matter, are probably more in tuned or a little bit more sensitive to that. Because I think even like, bears, wolves, coyotes, dolphins, whales, some are probably more sensitive than others. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they're uh, anything more special than the other ones. Just like I don't have remote viewing capability, but I know people that do.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, other than that, there's nothing really more special, right? And I just think that if we can do it, other animals should be able to do it. Um, and like not like every animal. People say like their animals kind of act weird before like an earthquake or whatever. Not every animal does it either. There are some animals that are chill, for 2 or 3 days prior, and are just as surprised as people are. But I think just because some are more in tune than others,
Oh,
and
for sure.
and I so with that being said, I do know a young lady. I never can remember if she's in Idaho or in Illinois. It starts with an I, whatever state she's in. Um, she had never had an experience with a Bigfoot, never even thought about a Bigfoot. She was out four-wheeling, and she got this like a projection in her mind where she saw a Bigfoot, and she had no idea why she saw it, but it kind of uh, unnerved her a little bit. I don't want to say it scared her, but she was like, she told her because her mom was on a four-wheeler too. She said, "Hey, let's go back to camp." She went back to camp, and she said she was just feeling uneasy all that night, and she wound up seeing the same one that she saw in her mind, and she's like, I don't know why I saw it, but she saw it, but try telling her that that doesn't happen, so. And that's one thing I don't do is I don't tell people, well, that didn't happen to you or you didn't experience that. I never tell anybody that. You know.
Yeah, it's just a matter of still under investigation,
Right.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Because it's the same thing for the people who say, I saw it jump through a portal or cloak or disappear. I don't tell anybody that's not what you saw. I think there are different things out there, and different entities or beings, whatever you want to call them. And everything is lumped together. But I don't think Sasquatch itself does that. You know, I don't know. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. For one investigation site down in Eastern Ontario, I'm running the night vision camera,
Mhm.
and uh, I'm getting these weird flashing lights coming from out of the ground, almost in a V shape, almost, and it was lighting up the vegetation around it. It's almost
Okay.
like somebody planted those 70s or 80s old school strobe lights in the ground. It was
Okay.
literally flashing like a strobe light. I'm going, what the hell is that? What's causing that? And it only run for about 2 or 3 seconds, and then it shut off. And by the time I called the other investigator over here, hey, train your light over here, or train your camera over here. I just seen a strobe light. Explain that to him, and nothing. And at the same time, we're hearing stomps out in the field. We're hearing footsteps all around us. So he turns around and starts facing another way. And then the strobe light goes off again, the strobe light effect. And to this date, I can't understand what the heck was causing that at all.
Right.
But after the strobe light went off, we started getting stomping and getting growled at from that general area. So
Hmm.
I don't
Right.
know. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, I'm not going to sit here and say, well, that's not what happened to you, Chris. You didn't see that, Chris.
I know.
What kind of an asshole would I be, right? If I said that, well, you didn't see
It,
that.
wa- the night vision camera captured it. I wouldn't able to captured it with my eyes
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I didn't have it trained up in my eyes. I was just holding it there, and because there wasn't much of an eye relief, but has a screen that I'm trying to film through, and it's picking up a strobe light coming out of it, but I can't see with my naked eye.
Right.
So that was the bizarre thing. So something we
Yeah.
can't explain.
Right, exactly. And it was like about 2 years ago, one of my cousins, he had a birthday party. It was right here in my neighborhood, and at a local little bar, if you want to call it that. And he was telling me, he goes, "Hey man, you're into all the Bigfoot stuff, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Yeah, we used to see one all the time at my grandpa's on his dad's side of the family." He goes, At my grandpa's property." I said, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah," and it was up north of Houston, also, maybe about 2 hours north of us. He goes, "Yeah, we used to go over there." And he goes, "There's like a big creek that runs through there." He goes, "It was very wide. It was deep enough to go swimming." He says, "And we used to see it all the time, standing on, right on the edge of the wood line, staring at us." He says, and one day my other cousin was swimming, and they were coming down to the creek, and he jumped up out of the water and tried to scare everybody. He goes, but when he jumped up, of course, we looked over to go see, who it was or what it was. He goes, when we looked up, he goes, in the background at the wood line, we saw that creature. We're like, hey, there he goes, there he goes. And everybody turned around and they went chasing this damn thing. And he said there was like, 12 kids, they're all like 14, 15 years old. And they're chasing this thing through the woods, and they get to the clearing. He says when they get to the clearing and they're watching this thing run, he says it just kind of disappeared right in front of them because they all saw it. Was this a mass hallucination?
Hmm.
So that's what I say. It's like I'm not going to tell anybody that's not what you saw. But I have my own opinions, and that's all it is. And I know some people get mad for having an opinion, but it's just an opinion. Um, So
Yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah.
But But yeah,
What else?
we're talking about that the samurai chatter. I don't know if I've ever heard samurai chatter, but we were out there at my friend's area where he had his encounter with a 9.5 foot one. We were putting out trail cams and recorders, and we came back to his truck, and I said, "Let's just kind of sit here and be quiet for a little bit." He's like, "Okay." So we're just kind of sitting out there, and we hear what sounds like two women talking, like a
Uh-huh.
different language, and it wasn't. It was too far enough to really say that it was samurai chatter, but it was
Uh,
definitely close enough to us to understand that it wasn't English, but you
yeah.
could tell it was two whatever the hell it was going back and forth. And he looked at me and goes, "Dude, do you hear that?" I said, "Yeah, I hear it. I'm right here next to you." Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had even some of our landowners that so, hear some kids laughing and giggling from outside their window, and there shouldn't be no kids out running around at this hour, especially out in the middle of nowhere. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So like in the hill country areas where I got some family has some land, they've had this land for over 30 years, and maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, they finally came to me and told me, "Goes, dude, I think we got Bigfoot on our property." And he started telling me all the stuff that happens out there. I'm like, "Dude, you got them out there." I mean, everything from the rock throwing to being paced in the woods to hearing kids playing, um, seeing something outside their trailer at night, getting their tent pushed down from the top, you know, all the typical stuff, finding big prints. Yeah, yeah, it's
yeah,
pretty crazy. Yeah,
that's a tough one too. They seem to be very careful about leaving tracks. That's what we've noticed,
right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's a little tougher for us up here. And I don't know if you're familiar with, well, especially central Ontario, like when we start getting into north of the Perry Sound area by
mhm,
the edge of Georgian Bay. It's all pretty much rock
right.
and with a
Okay,
little bit of soil deposits, but not much. But
right.
predominantly granite rock. You're pretty much on bedrock everywhere up there.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's like I like the hill country. It's just all rock. The only time they have found prints was like near the chicken coop or whatever. When they leveled off the ground and built the chicken coop.
yeah,
And the only
gotcha.
time we have ever found tracks out here is maybe like in the creek beds, but it's always been like one print, like where they're stepping across, because there's so much leaf litter on the ground. Even in the summer months when there's not a lot of leaf litter, there is just a lot of brush, and you can't make anything out really. But your best bet is to look in the creeks, and that's what we always do. We always look in all the creeks, and but yeah,
Yeah, we do the same, and we always carry a package of casting material in a plastic bag ready to go. You just pour in your pre-measured amount of water, and it's ready to go, and you just squeeze it in there. So
yeah.
we're all ready to go. We just need to find a track now.
Yeah, last summer when I went out and uh, I was out with my two of my friends, and I went up getting an upset stomach. And I was like, I don't want to be out here anymore with a messed up stomach. I'm heading home, and so I came home, and they stayed out there, and they sent me pictures. They found like maybe like 8 or 9 different tracks, uh, and they were like, "Dude, you took the casting material with you." But yeah, so they were like, "Shit." Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys use for cast material?
Um, Plaster of Paris mainly. There's something else there that we use. I forgot what it's called. It's more of a grayish color,
Hmm.
um, and it works really, really good. Actually like that a lot better than plaster of Paris. But I use the plaster of Paris all the time, so it's not a big deal.
Yeah, we sort of got turned on by another brand by Ontario Sasquatch. They have this brand. It's called Hydrocal.
Yeah, there you
That's
go. There you go. That's what it is.
that's what it was. Yeah, apparently
Yeah.
it casts up a lot quicker and it's a
Right.
little bit
Right.
harder and tougher. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what we carry.
Yeah. Yeah. We've casted some knuckle prints that look like knuckle prints.
Hmm.
I mean, they look like if you dug your hand like this into the ground, except a little bit wider.
Yep.
We found footprints like that. So, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right
Um,
on.
well, cool beans, man, dude. We already talked for an hour, if you can believe that.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Cool.
Time flies. I'm sure we haven't even touched everything yet, but
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, we got to do this again. We got to reschedule again and just talk away and
yeah, for sure. Well, if I could maybe make some announcements here, what we're up
Yeah,
to,
man. I
where
was
you
gonna
can
say,
find us.
yeah, whatever you want to talk about and promote, go
Yeah.
ahead. Feel free.
Well, we basically run a podcast and also a Facebook page called Hastings County Sasquatch, and we usually put out a podcast about once a month. Usually, we'll try and do something, but what's the sense of putting a podcast out if you have nothing interesting to talk about? So we just limited it to once a month, and we'll put something out. So we invite you guys to come and follow us and hit the subscribe button, and just you'll be notified when our next show comes out. The other groups that we research with is Upper Canada Sasquatch. You can find them on Facebook as well. We sort of overlap our reports, and you get some uh, good audio from there and good video presentations there on our reports. And of course, Ontario Sasquatch. Follow those guys too if you can. And oh, I almost forgot to tell you guys, we're trying to do since we're on the research aspect of things, we launched an initiative called Project Overwatch, which is a GoFundMe as an initiative. We're basically trying to get at least 3 um, professional thermal drones up in the air, like have at least 3 different assets located in 3 different parts of Ontario, like we were talking about, being 1.5 times the size of Texas, Ontario is. And the drive times is just crazy. But if we have 3 investigation groups located equally spaced out, we could have these thermal drone assets available
Right.
for quick deployment and in operation and stuff like that in no time. So that's Project Overwatch. If you want to, anybody's interested in maybe contributing to that, and we'll definitely probably give you guys a link. Anybody that contributes, you'd get firsthand look at the footage we'll get. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuff like by all means, just trying to promote this initiative, anyways. Let people know that hey, we're trying it. They're out there. We know where they are, and it's not like we're just going to be flying them
Right.
randomly, like a needle in the haystack. We got solid locations
Yeah.
that are backed up by the landowners and also eyewitnesses, and we
Yeah.
know where
And I'm
they're at.
curious. Yeah. Well, if that's anything like Texas, like you were saying, even, man, 10 square miles, that's a lot of land to cover. Drones would help out big time,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you
for
know.
sure.
Yeah.
Like we were just out there like 2 weeks ago, and again we're sitting around the fire, and we get a knock towards the north or the east or whatever.
Right.
If we had another drone team, maybe about a mile, maybe 2 miles on another location, we could easily do get on the radio or send a text message.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, we got some activity in green zone, which would be say the south or something like that. So we'd be
Right.
able to fly up a drone and get it in the air, and visually observe from a distance,
Yeah.
not just at
Yeah.
nighttime, but also daytime, and
Yeah.
and you know it's initiative that we're going to try and it's going to take place. It might take a little bit of time, but it's something that needs to be talked about, and definitely, yeah.
Well, cool beans, man. Hey, yeah, anything you want to share, links or whatever you want to share, podcasts, Facebook groups, man, tag me in them or send them to me and I'll share them for you, or just post them in my group page. I don't know if you're a member of the Beyond the Woodline fan page.
Oh, I am. Yeah, I always hop on from time to time
Yeah,
when I'm
yeah.
available.
Man, post whatever you want to post in there, man. Feel free.
Well, I'll definitely do that. Thank you, sir.
And for everyone else, like I said, I do appreciate you guys' participation and I always appreciate you guys just tuning in, period, man. Thanks a lot for doing that. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to stick with this restream. It's giving me issues 2 weeks in a row and it's kind of a pain in my ass at this point. So, I was kind of flustered in the beginning. I was so pissed. But anyway, Either way, I won't vent anymore. Cool, Chris. Hey, thanks a lot, man. Yeah,
And don't forget the secret weapon if you're going to be out in the woods
yeah.
there. You can throw these at a Sasquatch and they'll leave you alone.
They get hangry, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool, Chris. Thanks a lot, man. I do appreciate it. Hold on real quick. And everybody else, I don't have a show lined up yet next week, but if I do, I will post it. Thanks a lot,
Well,
guys.
if we get some more footage and interesting things to share, I'm sure I'll be back on with you.
Yeah, yeah.
All
Well, like I
right.
said, if you want to just come on and shoot the breeze, we can do that too. I'm good with that.
All right.
Cool. All right, guys. Y'all have a good